Hey, what's going on? Jerry Fetta, owner, founder, and CEO of Wealth Dynamics. Hey, I want to give you a quick video today, and it may not be quick. I want to cover an illustration for a sacred account for a child, right? So some of you watch my videos, my content, and you're like learning about the sacred account, and you've realized you can set them up for you can set them up for your spouse, you can set them up for children. Maybe you didn't know that. If you've got kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews, you can do that. So I want to show you what an illustration looks like, right? And also talk about what would you use this for. And I want to share with you the benefit of setting these up for your kids young, right? This is not something you want to wait for. The earlier, the better, right? So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go over a couple of things regarding the illustration. Okay, and this is really going to give you a pretty real look at how an illustration should look. We're also going to pull up just a basic calculator here on the side so that we can go over this. But this is really going to give you kind of, okay, this is what I could expect if I were to set up a policy for my kid. Okay, now, first things first here, I want to just go ahead and put some notes on here so we can focus on the right things as we're watching this video. So again, as always, we have two different columns. We have guaranteed and we have non-guaranteed current dividend scale, right? Let's make that a little bit cleaner. We have non-guaranteed with the current dividend scale, okay? Guaranteed means we're going to assume we never earn dividends, okay? Well, we do earn dividends. Like, we can't guarantee them, but with the companies we work with, they've happened, 100 to 200 years in a row, okay? So when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at the guaranteed column. Sorry, the non-guaranteed column. I'm not really paying that much attention to the guaranteed column, to be honest with you. And the reason why is it's like I've said in previous videos, I can't guarantee you the sun's going to come out tomorrow, but it's come out every single day since beginning of my life, right? Beginning of your life, since the beginning of time, really. And so while I can't guarantee it, it's got a pretty good track record of doing that, right? So with the dividends, they've happened every year for 150, 160, 170 years in some cases. No misses, nothing like that. And so while I can't guarantee it, I've got a pretty good expectation that it's going to happen. Okay. So I'm looking at a couple of things here. We're doing a children's policy. We put in on this one, let me just scroll up a bit because we did do a lump sum, right? We did do a lump sum on this policy going into it. And it looks like that lump sum, and this is for a Canadian, by the way. We did a lump sum of 2,500, right? Lump sum of, so total initial payment is 2,500. 1,000 of that was the annual premium. Then we did a paid up additions lump sum of almost $1,500. So total of 2,500 goes in. Okay, so back to our numbers. We put in 2,500. Okay, so we've got 2,500 cash premiums that went in, right? What did that get for us? We got $155,000 in death benefit in year one. Okay, keep in mind, this is for a 6-month-old, right? And then we have $1,945 in cash value, right? Now, what do we want to look at? Immediately, we're looking at a couple of things. I'm looking at my year one liquidity because I want to understand what kind of policy did I just design, right? So we have 1,945 available off of 2,500 that went in. So we have year one liquidity of around 78%. Okay, so we're looking at 78%, which is pretty good. Okay, in previous videos, I've talked about we can do 60-40 splits. We can do 70-30 splits. We can go for like an 80-20 model, or we could go for a 90-10, or we could try and get higher than that potentially, right? But this one is 78, so we're pretty close to an 80-20 model, right? And again, this is with a Canadian company for a 6-month-old. So I'm looking at a few things next. I want to look at, okay, I'm putting in my cash deposits. I want to see on my cash value increase, when does my annual increase exceed the amount of premium that I put in, right? Like, I'm looking at this magic ATM machine concept. I put in 2,500 and did my cash value in the next year go up by more than that? When does that occur? Okay, so I can look at this and I can look at 2,500. So I've got 1945 the first year. We know it's not the second year, even though that's a pretty good increase. We've got 9188 the fourth year minus, I think it might be in the fourth year. Let's check. 9188 minus 67.19. Almost. I put in 2,500. It increases by 24.69. So maybe it's year 5. We've got 11,851 from 91.88. Yeah, so year 5, I put in $2,500. And my cash value from year 4 to 5 increased by more than 2,500. Right? So it increases by 26.63. Now, if I do the math on this, 26.63 divided by 2,500, I put in $1 and I've gained $1.06. Right? So I want you to imagine going to an ATM machine, depositing money, and immediately you have more money than you deposited. Right? That's the concept we're going for here. Okay, so this happens basically in year 5 with this particular policy. Again, this is for a 6-month-old, right? So that's pretty cool. Now, if we go further down into the policy, we can start to see that this gets really out of control in a good way, right? So we're still putting in, let's just look at year 10. We're still putting in 2,500, right? So we put in 2,500. Total cash value increase from year 9 to 10. Let's take a look at that. So year 10, it increases to 27,544. The previous year, it was 24,092. Let's pull our calculator up here and subtract that out. Right? So I put in $2,500 and my cash value on this policy increased by $34.52. Right? I put in $1 and I gained $1.38 off the dollar I put in without doing anything. Right? That's regardless of whether I borrow, regardless of whether I take policy loans. Okay? Now I want you to keep in mind the context here. Okay? We designed this policy for a 6-month-old. When we say year 10, this literally is the year that he is 10 years old. Okay? So we're saying when he is 10 years old, he'll have a banking system set up with almost $28,000 in it. He's going to have $314,000 in death benefit that continues to go up every year, as you can see. And he's got it set up where when he puts in $1, he gets more than $1 back immediately before he does anything. Right? Not bad for a 10-year-old. That's pretty dope. Okay? So this is what we're looking at further on down the policy. I like to look at this now later. We look at year 20. This is around the age, he would probably start using this for school or a business or whatever, right? So in year 20, he has $62,000 available in cash value, right? He's got $500,000 in death benefit. He's 20 years old, okay? And at this point, I like to point this out. We've done $2,500 a year for 20 years. Let's just do the math on this really quick, because this is a point people miss on life insurance when we're talking about the sacred account. $2,500 for 20 years. We've put in $50,000, right? So at the 20-year marker, we put in $50,000. How much does he have in cash value? More than he put in. He has $500,000 in death benefit. So I'm going to ask you a magic question here. This is my boy Dante. He's my little nephew up in Canada. How much does Dante pay for life insurance? Nothing. If you put in $50,000 to buy a product, and that product has now given you 62 grand, and you still have the product, and in the year you have it, in year 20, whether you do anything with it or not, it's going to pay you $1,458 in dividends, right? That's free. Dante does not pay for life insurance. So this whole buy term, invest the difference, and da-da-da-da-da, this is free. At the moment, you have more in cash value than your premiums cumulatively were up to that point. You paid nothing for life insurance. You got every single dollar you put into it back. And you got a death benefit. And you probably have living benefits. And you can take loans. And you own the insurance company because you get dividends. And you get guaranteed interest. And your money is ultimately protected from creditors, lawsuits, all sorts of things, taxes. Okay, so when we're talking about this, I want to really appreciate the concept, right? What's being achieved here? Because the alternative is you pay for insurance for the next 20 years and you're never going to get that money back. If you do term insurance, you will never get that money back. Right? If you do most insurances, you will never get the money back. right? So sometimes we come into this thinking cost, and you need to get rid of the word premium because you associate it with negative things like health insurance and car insurance and this insurance where you pay and get nothing. You're depositing money in and you're getting everything you put into it and more, right? Like if he put in 50,000 or his parents put in 50,000 and he's got 62,000 in cash value, like if we want to really look at this literally, this life insurance costed him negative $12,526. Meaning he got the 50 back that was put in plus another 12,526. That's a negative cost. That's a profit, right? Not only that, that's a tax-free profit. So I just wanted to go on that quick little rant. Okay. Now let's talk about like in year 20, right? So we've got 62,526 available in cash value. The prior year was 57,471. So we have an increase in cash value that year of $5,055. Now, how much did we put in? Still just 2,500 bucks, right? So for every dollar that was put into the policy in year 20, $2.02 showed up. Okay, I want you to really think about that. That's pretty cool. Okay, now at age 20, like think about it, this is college, right? This could be a house, this could be a wedding, this could be any number of things. But let's say that Dante is using this for real estate. Okay, Dante is a Wealth Dynamics client. He's a mini mogul. He's grown up with a policy. He's been learning about the banking system. And so Dante is like, okay, cool. I'm going to use this for real estate, right? So basically he takes the 62,000 out, like he takes a loan against it in year 20. Okay, so he withdraws the 62,000. So he puts that into a real estate deal that's paying him 12%. So that's 62,526. He's earning 12%. So he's going to earn $7,503 in interest income from that real estate. Okay. Now, while he does that, his 62,000 is still there growing. It's still there growing like it never left, right? Because it didn't ever leave. Why didn't it leave? Because when we take a loan from a policy, we're not actually withdrawing our money. We're borrowing money from the insurance company, and we're collateralizing, meaning we're borrowing against our death benefit, right? So when he takes that loan for 62,000, they don't reduce his cash value. They do temporarily reduce his death benefit till he pays it back, right? Because they're not going to pay that money out if he owes them 62 grand. They're going to pay him the 500K minus the 62 that Dante owes them, right? So we want to keep that on our frame of mind. Okay, so we put in 62,000 into the real estate. We're making 7,500. The 62,000 is still there growing, right? So we've made 7,500. Let me just copy my numbers here. We've made $7,500 in interest income from the real estate. However, a year goes by, we've got 67,640 in cash value in year 21, minus the prior year, which was 62,526. Cash value increases by 5,114. We put in again 2,500 bucks, right? So divided by 2,500, we put in $1, $2.04 shows up. Even though we liquidated, we borrowed against the entire amounts available. Okay, you have to really put this in the context of your bank. Like when you put money in a bank, like you put in $2,500, you don't immediately get $2 new for every one you put in. You don't put in 2,500 and have 5,000 show up, right? That's not what happens. Okay. Number two is if you take 62,000 out, you don't still get paid. You're not going to continually get interest and dividends on that money. Okay. So we have an increase that year of 5,114 plus we had our $7,500 in real estate, right? So it increases by $12,617. Now, again, 2,500 of this was our own money. So we do need to account for that. We want to subtract out the fact that we did put in 2,500. I just want to look at what was our net profit on the real estate. Okay. So 2,500 of it was our own money. When we take a loan, it's probably about a 5% interest rate that we're borrowing. We're paying to borrow, right? So if you never pay the loan back, then your interest rate is going to be 5 or 6 or whatever the insurance company charges, right? If you take the income from that real estate and every single month you pay back your loan, every single month you pay down the loan. Now, why would you do that? You would do that because you're going to save the money anyways. aren't you? Like, you're going to get the money from the real estate. It's going to go into your life and you're going to put it in a bank account. That's what we've been taught to do. We're not using bank accounts. You have your own banking system now. So you could take that money and you could either put it as a deposit into the front end of your policy as an annual contribution or a monthly contribution or an unscheduled contribution, depending how you're designed it set up. That's option number one. Option number two is you repay your loan. Okay, I would repay my loan. I always make the thing I borrowed for pay the loan back. Always, right? So when I repay my loan, I reduce the balance of the loan for the year, and the interest is calculated off of a reducing balance. So it's 5% of a smaller number, meaning my interest dollars went down. Okay. The other factor is I'm going to take that cost of interest and I'm going to write it off on my taxes as investment expense. And so when I've done this, a lot of times you'll pay maybe 2/3 of what the actual interest rate is, depending on your tax bracket, how much you're repaying. So the loan is 5%, but if we're only going to pay 2/3 of that, then our loan interest rate is probably closer to like 3%. That's called net effective interest. Right? So if I borrowed $62,526 and I'm paying 3% on a loan, that means that my cost of interest after I pay down my loan for the year with my income, I get my tax deduction. My net actual out the door cost of interest was $1,875.78. Okay, so this means that I profited $8,241.34. That's my net dividend and interest increase on my policy. That is my rate of return on my interest income from my real estate investing, right? And if I look at what's my annual return, I made $8,241. I borrowed $62,526. Let's look at what did we just make there. So $8,241 divided by $62,526. I made 13.18%. Okay, 13.18%. So just on using my policy, I made an entire more than 1% additional on money that I was going to use anyways, right? So you could take 62,000 cash, put it into real estate, make 12%, or the same exact thing. All you did is you put it into your policy first and repaid your loan, and you make 13.18%. Okay, now you guys might look at this and you're like, well, it's just 1%. That's not that much of a difference. Let's talk about 1% real quick. Okay, so you have 62,526 that you took out and put into real estate. Okay, scenario one, you earn just 12% because you only use your cash, you don't use the policy. And let's say we do this for 30 years. Every single year, you're just going to leave that 62,000 there for the next 30 years, right? Actually, that's a bit of a bigger number than I want to play with. Yeah, let's say 20 years. Okay, so you have 62,526 as your beginning balance at 12%. Screw it, we'll do 30 years. For 30 years, so that's 62,526 is going to grow to $2,247,787.27. I'm gonna go ahead and write this on the board so that we can all see this, right? We're going to round up to the nearest decimal. So this is going to grow here if you just use cash. You didn't use a policy. You just took 62 grand and you put it into real estate at 12% and let it do that for 30 years, okay? That is $2.247 million. That's what that'll grow to. Okay, now let's change this to the 13.18. You use the policy and you do 13.18%. That means the little 1.18% increase. What does that do? This person over 30 years has 3.19 million. Okay, guys, 1% increase every single year for 30 years is an extra $1 million. Do you think Dante's parents care that he has $1 million more? I think so. Would you care if your kids had $1 million more? I think so. Would you care if you had $1 million more? I think so. Right? Now we're only 20 years into this thing. Okay. But if you look at the exponential growth of this is really why this is such an important thing to set up for your kids. right? Not only is Dante going to have all the benefits we talked about, Dante in this example, he's never going to need a bank again in his life because this thing keeps growing and he only ever puts $2,500 into it. So let's talk about when Dante turns 50. Okay. So year 50, Dante has $421,000 in his policy. That's an increase of the previous year. So 421,759. Previous year, he had 398,929. Okay, increase of in cash value of 22,830. Right now, how much did Dante put in? Dante still only put in $2,500. Right, because on a whole life insurance policy, you set it up and you don't change it. You just have a scheduled contribution. It's not going to increase. You could decrease it if you wanted to. I don't recommend it, right? And the reason why, I want to address this one really quick. This is a perfect policy to do this on. Sometimes we'll set these up and people will ask, well, when can I stop funding it? Let me show you in the nicest way possible why that is the dumbest question I've ever heard. Okay, so Dante puts in 2,500 bucks in year 50. His cash value goes up by 22,830. That's an increase of 9.13. So Dante puts in $1 and $9.13 new show up for every dollar he put in. So you have this magic ATM machine and you've built it up to a point where when you deposit $1, you get 9. So let me ask you, let me implore of you, why on God's green earth would you stop putting $1 in? Why would you ever be like, at what point can I quit putting the money in so I can stop having 9 new dollars show up? Right? You don't want to do that. Like, you got it to the sweet spot. It's like building a business. It's finally profitable. And you're like, cool, when can we tear it down? And I'm like, what? Or building a house that's finally ready for your family to move in. And you're like, awesome, now let's burn it. Okay, it doesn't make any sense. Like, the goal here is not to stop putting money in. It's to fund and build your own banking system. Now that it's optimized, take advantage of the work you just did. Keep it going. Keep funding it, right? You put in $1 and 9 new ones show up. That's pretty incredible. Okay, and I want to point out too, this is only $2,500 a year, guys. He's putting in 200 bucks a month. In reality, by the time Dante's 50, he's going to have dozens of policies. This is just his first one. The first policy you do at the youngest age is always going to be your best policy as long as it was designed correctly. Dante's was designed correctly. So this is always going to be his best performing policy. You're not going to see a better one than this, right? Because he's continually letting it just grow and build and get better and better every single year, right? So at 50, he's got 421,000. So let's just say, what if he pulls that out, 421,759, and he puts that in real estate and he's earning 12%. Okay, so he's now making 50,000 a year in passive income from his real estate. Plus, what did we just say? His cash value increased by something like 22,000, just rough math, right? So he's got an increase in his cash value of 72,000 or 22,000 something dollars, right? Then we've got another 50,000 coming in from real estate income. Dante is making 72 grand a year from real estate and policy. That's it. Like, if he does nothing else, he's got more at age 50 for retirement, quote unquote, than most people will ever have. And it only keeps getting better because next year it's going to increase again, right? In year 52, he's going to have enough money to borrow and do another real estate deal, right? In year 52, right? Then we go up to year 55. He's going to be able to do another two, well, between this year and this year, 2 more real estate deals. He'll be able to stack up a real estate deal every other year and continue that. And it's going to become an annual, like an every year thing at some point, where he's got enough money in his policy just from repaying his loan and cash value growth to borrow and do another property and borrow and do another property. And this thing just spits off and keeps funding his lifestyle, right? We go down to the later years in this policy, right? And this is hard to imagine, but Dante is 100 years old, right? He's probably going to live that long. We look at that today and we're like, oh, that's a long time. Guys, they're going to be like, our body parts are going to be like car parts. We'll be able to live as long as we want to pay to live. I think that's what's going to happen. So Dante's 100. We've got $3,890,000 in cash value. That's an increase. If we do the math on this, 3,890,187 minus the prior year of 3,668,784. That's an increase of $221,403. Right? So let's do the math on that. We divide this. He puts in, and this point, his premium did go down. So he's not putting in 2,500 anymore. Now he's only putting 1,015, right? And this happened as of year 70, right? You can see year 70 is the last year he did the 2,500. After that, it drops, right? And that's just for the sake of the policy design. But he puts in 1,015. So final year of the policy, he puts in $1,015.28. And his cash value goes up $218.07 for every $1 he contributes. Okay, that's incredible. Like, name one other system where you put in $1 and it grows by 218 bucks. Now, granted, this is year 100. This is the final year of the policy, right? And it's like, okay, well, anyone can wait that long. Yes, but you got to see what I just showed you. Every year leading up to that, like year 4, he puts in $1 and gets more dollars than he put in the first year, like immediately. Right, year 10 it increases. Year 20 he's getting double. In his 40s and 50s he's getting 9 and 10 times that. Right, so this is a properly designed policy for a child. Okay, this is something that if you have a kid and you've got your sacred account and you've got one for your spouse, you want to set one up for your children. Right, and as a parent, what you should be doing is you should be looking at, how do I include this in my policy? Like, if I'm borrowing against my policy to do real estate, and I've got, 150 grand and I'm doing properties and stuff, and I'm in year 5 of my child's policy, why not take a loan for their 11,000? Right? Why not do that and tag it into the deal and start to build up their income? Right? I take that little portion from their policy and pay back their loan with it. Right? And I continue to do that as their policy grows, and that just it enhances them. Then you can teach them what's happening. Hey, this is yours. We borrow against it. We put it into these investments. Every month it pays the investments back. This is how you're going to pay for college. This is how you're going to pay for your house. This is how you're going to pay for this. Now, if you're really like doing a great job and you want to really teach, because I believe as a parent, your job is to create a future adult, right? Like a productive future adult. That's the hat or the role of a parent. We don't have enough productive future adults. So it actually is kind of an important job that you do that. I would not just give them the $2,500 a year, right? Maybe when they're little, like they don't know enough yet, you can start putting that together for them and putting it away for them, right? And you set that aside, and that's fine because they're 3 and they can't do much. When they're 6, they're folding laundry, right? Like they're doing stuff around the house. They're helping out. And that's how and then you tie that to when you work, we're putting money into your policy, right? And that money going into your policy is getting set aside for you. And that's what you're earning. And that's how you contribute to the household. And that's how you're building your future. And you're teaching them how to start producing as a child, right? Doing things that adults do, growing their incomes, putting money aside for savings, becoming their own banker, and thinking with these things so that when they're adult, they're like, dude, I've been doing this since I was 5. Right? Can you imagine the difference in society if all of our adults had been doing this since they were 5? And they could have been, because this has been around for 100 to 200 years. Right? So that's all I've got for you today. I want to just give you that illustration as an example. Again, that's for a 6-month-old. It's a Canadian policy. We can do policies for Americans, for Canadians, for Puerto Ricans. So if you're watching this video and you're interested in setting up a sacred account, learning more about it, reach out to my team. I hope that this was valuable. If you've got a policy now and you're like, I don't have one for my kids, I would like to, let's help you out with that. I'll see you next time.